about their experiences in the industry as well as the educational systems here in Canada. So joining us today are Ali, Sergey, and Woonam. Ali is from Sony Pictures Imageworks. Sergey is here from Concordia University as well as on behalf of the Canada-China International Film Festival. And Woonam is here with us from Emily Carr University of Art and Design and also my former professor. So we're going to get started. We'll ask that you guys please save all of your questions until the very end of the session. And so without further ado, please welcome our first speaker, Ali Parnasri. Thank you so much.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming down to listen to me talk about my journey in animation. I'll be starting with a little bit of a background about myself. I'm currently an animator at Sony Pictures Imageworks. I've been there for over 2.5 years roughly. I started my journey 3 years ago at Imageworks as an intern. But to go further, I was born and raised in Iran, and I left home when I was 16, and the whole purpose of that was to pursue the art and animation. So just because I grew up with a lot of Looney Tunes, a lot of the Walt Disney classics, and Chuck Jones is one of my favorite artists, and those drawings really inspired me. And I sort of really wanted to learn how to do that, but my limited resources did not allow me. And after a few research, I decided to leave home, and Canada wasn't the first choice because of my limited English abilities. And what I decided to do, I went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And being in there sort of opened my eyes because I went to a Canadian high school, and meeting a lot of the professors who were from Ontario, BC, all across Canada, they sort of introduced Sheridan College to me. And again, because I wasn't so aware of how to get into animation, they helped me a lot with sort of connecting me with the students that were in school at that time. And I decided to sort of learn the program from Malaysia. So I had to study sort of how to draw the basics. And I decided to apply for the Bachelor of Applied Animation at Sheridan. After I got into the Sheridan's animation, it's a 4-year program it's in Ontario. It's a 4-year classical animation program. So what I was super eager to do 2D animation. But seeing the industry and the path it was taking, I realized, okay, this may not be the wisest choice at this point. But the basics are always there, and what I did was I started after my 2nd year knowing the basics and drawing on paper. Sort of I started learning Maya, and just because I was informed of the basics, that really helped me out to Maya came a sort of almost naturally just because I was aware of the tools, the basics. And in my 3rd year, I applied to Sony Pictures for an internship. I was lucky enough to be accepted, and I started to be interning on Storks, and that was the first movie I got the chance to be part of. And my job on Storks was, at that time, it was about 8 or 9 animators, and our job was to sort of, it was super early, it was pre-production, and our job was to sort of explore who the characters were and what we're trying to sell. And so it was a lot of fun trying to define who the characters are, how they're supposed to move, the timing and the pace of the movie. And so it was a great experience, and these are some of the titles I worked on at Sony Pictures, and currently working on the animated Spider-Man. So iCAD is the new sort of revamped version of the iPacs at Sony Pictures right now. At that time, it was 2 interns for animation, and it's an 8-week program. It was the first 2 weeks we learned the tools, we learned how to sort of familiarize ourselves with the pipeline, and After the second week, they rolled us on to storks. Right here, what we did on storks, again, as I mentioned, we worked on trying to figure out who the characters are. And because sort of we were interns, we sort of had the freedom of exploring, and that led to a lot of fun. There was no pressure, and afterwards, we had the opportunity of getting hired. So if you want to know more about the IPACs or the ICAD, please visit the link provided. Also, so here's what I sort of think when making a transition from being a student to a professional environment. To me, the first thing was passion. I grew up watching a lot of the Looney Tunes, the Chuck Jones drawings, you know, the 9 old men studying their books. So I think passion is so much more important than what so people call talent. To me, it's about hard work, not necessarily the talent, because I didn't grow up drawing at all. I mean, I was exposed to animation, but I wasn't the drawer or didn't have the talent at all. So there was many hours, a lot of sleepless nights, and just to understand. I remember when I went to school, we had these 2D animation discs, and I remember asking a lot of people, okay, what are those? What do they do? And they lit up, and I was like, wow, that is super cool. But after learning what that really does and the pleasure of flipping your 2D animation papers and seeing your first bouncing ball come to life, that was the moment where I realized, okay, this is super cool. And it's important to have the right mindset and right communities like SIGGRAPH. I attended CTN, which I have a couple pictures at the end of me being a fan. And again, the principles are super important, that you can always watch tutorials and videos and ask people questions how to use Maya, 3D Max, Houdini, all the softwares. But if you don't have the basics of how the real animation is supposed to move, you know, you have to understand the basics, the principles, you have to know why you're doing this. It's not just about, hey, I like to move a character. You have to understand why you're moving a character. And no software and no one can help you with that if you don't have the right mindset. So it's very important to understand a lot of the basics before getting into Maya. And like currently, like my day-to-day life, I definitely have to explore before getting into Maya, because when you work on a feature, it's expensive to just spend a day and just play around in Maya, where you have to know what you're doing. And knowing the basics definitely helps you sort of get in Maya and be ready to animate. And a bit of luck, obviously. It's not everything. Timing is important. I've had a lot of friends who did intern as I did, and previous years, the years after, but the timing for them wasn't perfect. And for me, I was lucky in that sense, because after the internship, Sony started hiring, and that was my way in. A lot of the interns came in, did their internship, and got out. But a bit of luck and timing is definitely helpful. And obviously, never give up. So these are some of my pictures that I attended CTN, I think 2013 or 14, I'm not sure. And again, the basics, some life drawings I did. I remember back in school I did about 8-9 hours of life drawing, and I almost got carpal tunnel just because I had the passion of drawing so much. And yeah, I mean, basics to me are the most important part of sort of the transition and connecting with peers. I remember I emailed a lot of people. After I got the internship, I started connecting with the animators and sort of never gave up. I was rejected once after my second year. I applied and I didn't get the internship. But again, that did not sort of let me down. I sort of worked hard. A lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of, I think to me passion is so important that you never give up, because you have to find the root and the purpose of you doing this. It's not just about, again, moving characters. It's about that pleasure of seeing a character's thinking, and when you watch something, when you watch an animation, it's more like it's a real thing, even though it may be a character that you're designed, but it feels real, that you forget, hey, it's a character that I've animated. So to me, it's passion, it's the basics, and CTN and SIGGRAPH, and having fun is very important. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ali. And next up, we're going to have Sergey present, so please give him a round of applause.
Well, thanks, Ali, for the passionate talk. So we'll try to keep it relevant and fast-paced. All right, so that's a quick overview what I'm going to talk about. So my name is Sergey. So I'm at Concordia University Academic Environment. We also started doing a festival, and we actually progressed from that festival with some technology, with some interdisciplinary actors, because we based on the university. And we have a chapter that's being revived by one of our fellow Montrealers, and so I'll briefly mention all these topics, how we connect academia and a bit of industry as well through this festival. So at Concordia, where I'm mostly based, we have it's a comprehensive university of 4 faculties. We have Faculty of Engineering, where our department is in, and actually what's convenient for us is engineering and visual arts are together. So we can actually mix and match and work on both creative and well-engineered projects. The Faculty of Fine Arts, which is in the same building, they also have good multidisciplinary centers such as TAG and Milio, and they have different research groups like Elastic Spaces that we work with on different collaborations as well. So for us, the 3D graphics, we have about maybe 4 or 5 faculty members that work in the computer science department, both full-time faculty and affiliate faculty. So we also have interdisciplinary teams like from music department that do visual music. And this is a sum of the laboratories that you have: applied perception, geometric processing, visualization, interaction, and our group, which is MDream Stage. That's Marta Kirsten lab about applied perception, so everything perception in terms of augmented and virtual reality, medical imaging, and any kind of scientific related research and visualization that they do there. And Elastic Spaces by Leila Sujir. They also do actually have a network of collaborators across universities of Canada and one in the UK. So UBC is here, Emily Carr, Queen's, Victoria, UQAM, and so on and so forth. So, and of course, within Concordia, we work with them as well, both faculties of engineering as well as fine arts. So they do a lot of installations and interactive works and exhibitions, so they're more art-oriented. So, and our group, founded by Miao Song, who is also the co-founder of the MDream Stage, as well as the Canada Art Tech, which is I'm going to talk about, and MDream's Pictures and the festival, and me. So it's a bit of a messy because I do a lot of core software engineering, security, machine learning on one side. On the other side, I do some creative work, motion capture, HCI, computer vision, and graphics. So I'm combining these two together. So 2 of us formed MDream Stage and started this system, illimitable space system, which was an interactive system that we put on stage in real-time performance and graphics. And we still develop it today, and we successfully combined workflows tailored to both computation art students and software engineering students, and also deployed it in the real production settings. And we're developing a core, OpenISS core, which is publicly available on GitHub, to work with multiple devices as well. So that's our academic side, and we started to bring that into a festival based on the experience that developed. So the experience that I mentioned, working closely between software engineers and artists, including design and computation art students, because mindsets are very different. People do not think and work the same way. So we have to integrate them together and keep the system that we develop, such as the ISS, a lot more reusable, robust, and optimal on one side, at the same time without losing the creative potential. So it's quite an interesting experience to work. And I described some of that as well with my students' work just this morning at the Educators Forum. And we have a poster with another student down there in the hall. So also in Montreal, we used to have a good chapter at some point. It slowed down the work, and now by the efforts of Miriam Beauvais, she is very actively reviving of Montreal chapter. If anybody here is from Montreal, you will please support the chapter and join it again. So we're going to be making great events, and big thanks to Miriam, who gone through all the paperwork in the last year to bring it back up. And what we did with our festival, we also had it as one of the partners for the Entertainment Technology Summit. Now, how do we take this academic stuff and link the industry is through the festival. So that's festival, it's a third edition coming up. The first edition and second featured a lot of technology in terms of entertainment technology, human-computer interaction, AR, VR, 3D printing, and linking of filmmakers, producers, both Canadian and Chinese, as well as internationally, to come together. So that's the basic goal and idea of the festival. And we put, so some of the, behind that is the nonprofit organization that connects art and technology together through the university. So we put university researchers to work on some of this creative artwork. And that's the, through the membership in this nonprofit, people get to connect with the Chinese market, because Chinese market is the one that's booming still quite substantially in terms of both game and film industry. And that's the area of activities as a result for this Canada-China Art Tech, or CCAT, in terms of film, different realities, and entertainment technology. So, and the idea is to actually promote this big platform between a lot of talent in Canada and in China, and get them to mix and match, and so they have perfect or good opportunities for co-production or some kind of joint work to succeed, not only creatively but also financially. So, and one of the projects of CCAT is the festival, Canada-China International Film Festival, and the 2018 edition is coming up in September 21st to 27th. It's actually a thematic edition about tourism, which is a year of tourism between the two countries. We also planned out the next editions, and we had the two previous ones as well. And we've done some events related to these activities and that mission that I mentioned, such as going with the, in our case, Philippe Couillard's trip to China. And there was other activities as well, both in interactive media, fairs, and technologies. And as well as the same thing as on Canadian side, we had a Chinese CAI, which was a part of the CAI conference in Montreal, which we did, and other planned events. So this is some of the pictures of that. So this is with the Premier Couillard. This is with Melanie Joly when she was a heritage minister. So she's a tourism minister now. We went to Beijing, part of this with the Beijing International Film Festival, and we brought with us Alain Desrochers, who is a Bon Cop, Bad Cop 2 director. And he is also presenting at the ET Summit this year because he worked in technology and other things. So we're happy to have him with us as well. So we participated in international fairs in China in May, and we actually working with the research institute in film and technology VFX studio in China on a joint research project between Concordia on real-time motion capture and VFX as well. So this is our way of connecting, exporting research from here to China, and also actually exchange to cross-pollinate. So we actually, as we develop that same system that I mentioned in the beginning, illimitable space system, we do productions where we involve the students to go that and do it. So District 3 is our incubator for startups at Concordia. And the Ubisoft executives were visiting, so we prepared a little demo done by undergraduate students, the class I taught right before that, when we actually exported and exposed the system, the cameras, like depth cameras of any kind, as a service. We worked with Kinect, and after that Microsoft announced, oh, we're going to be releasing Kinect for Azure. So hey, we already did your other two Kinects as a cloud platform, so here you go, it works, it's open source, please go and take it. And then the same thing at the Chinese Sky I already mentioned, so some of you people may have been there as well. So we did a little live demo with motion capture and art for performance at this stage there. So some of my students there on the left. So that's what type of activities we do. We've been at SIGGRAPH for different activities. This was actually CG in Canada, this very session that we organized last year in LA. So was quite happy to do that. And I'll just now briefly mention the type of activities we do. So my main interest is entertainment technology within the context. That's why we have Entertainment Technology Summit within the festival. But there are other things that are happening. Screenings, we also do VR screenings in particular that will be combined with the normal main screenings at the film festival. There is other classical events that are happening. So opening will be in Toronto, masterclass, script competition, and that's my favorite is the Entertainment Technology Summit, including a project with Chinese Academy of Sciences on augmented reality tourism. So when places exchange their target data and whatever, and then visitors in China could visit places here and vice versa. In Montreal, let's say, they could explore places in China. And so we're doing a prototype project with them this year as well. And in Quebec, here, we have BCTQ, something I will mention. So there will be a formalization tour to tour VR companies and others. We're working on a Women's Voice session that we had in the last two editions, Women's Voice and Film Technology and Television. And part of it probably will be as a part of the whole Trend Free event that we have, and closing gala in the end. Entertainment technology, so that's our mascot on top. And we are working with our Milio Institute at Concordia, which is probably the most multidisciplinary institute at Concordia that's mixing art and technology. And they are working on VR showcase. So there is a curated VR showcase, which will be part of the festival. We're planning a full competition, like you normally have best this, that type of award structure, which we we'll probably do next year, so it did not work out this year, but we have a showcase for this. So that's something from the past two editions. We had actually people that you may know that actually attend SIGGRAPH quite. So from Disney, Rajesh Sharma, Paul Debevec was kind enough to have talk about VR and his research on and other work and other people. So, and an exhibition, which is traditionally a part of this, and a few speakers throughout the two editions. So you can check out what was the past recordings. We actually published them on our channel. And we did it, as I said, in cooperation with the ACM SIGGRAPH chapter in Montreal to try to give it a boost and have it running. So again, thanks to Miriam. And that's what was in 2017. We actually had a few, so we had 2 days. One was academic day, so professors from McGill, Concordia, elsewhere. And industry day, people who work in the actual industrial environment. And then having those people to meet and talk, give students projects. So at Concordia we have industrial PhD and master's programs. So when they can combine their work in the industry with an actual degree advancement. So that's the type of audience we often target, so for everybody. And one of the things is the tours and to Moment Factory, to Cirque du Soleil, National Film Board, that we had to expose and get people to meet. BCTQ is our Bureau de Cinéma de la Télévision du Québec, which is kind of Quebec Television and Cinema Council that actually helps local filmmakers, artists, whatever, meet and explore and export their projects outside. So I learned yesterday here, and we have a Creative BC that does very much something similar. They've been providing some of the coffees, breaks, and others, which was nice. So we probably with them will maybe bring some of the of this festival to Vancouver. We'll see about that. So BCDQ is the same type of organization that does in Quebec in the film, and specifically they have a VR studio tour this year. So that's our tentative schedule. We're still finalizing the plan for the Entertainment Technology Summit. A couple of days, so there are screenings, there are seminars, maybe master classes, and the final day would be the main event. So VR showcase installation by the screenings and the augmented reality project that I mentioned with China, the tourism. And this is the tentatively confirmed scheduling. So we're going to have a keynote from China as well as Alain de Rocher presenting materials for you to see from Cirque du Soleil, Mel's Item 7, and our research colleagues from Milieu 3D Graphics Group as well. So we're still working on that. This is the location, it's known. The timing is also known, so check it out. We'll film and record it as well. Then Alain already confirmed his presence, so we'll feature that as well. And when the ET Summit is finished, it's actually the gala and award ceremony in the same place just later in the day. So through this type of events, that's how we connect, because we are researchers ourselves. We are based on the university, but this platform allows us to explore and have our students and as well as the collaborators to mix and match, to connect with the industry that actually does film production. So, and thank you to all these organizations that actually have provided some content, such as films and VR content as well. So, and actually the media partners, we're going to have CCTV 6 channel from China coming in and Shanghai Media Group from broadcasting this event. So I think I will conclude on this. There are different media links and interesting things. So if you're in Montreal, check it out. And yes, so that's how we connect people. So thank you very much. Any questions? Probably at the end. Okay. So as that's said. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sergey. So next up, we're going to have Woonam Kim from Emily Carr join us. I'm just going to do a little switch over with the system. Please welcome Woonam.
So this here, right? Oh, it's smaller, right? It's this one. All right, hello everyone. My name is Unam Kim. I teach 3D computer animation at Emily Carr University. I'm here to talk about CG animation education at our school. So before I get to my main topic, let me tell you about myself. So before I joined Emily Carr, I worked as an animator and VFX artist with companies such as ILM, Microsoft Game Studio, and Digital Domain Vancouver. Here are some of my film projects I worked on while I was at ILM and Digital Domain. So I hope you guys watch one of those movies. And here are some of my game credit while I worked in Seattle. So about our school, I'm so sure many of you guys from BC might know about Emily Carr University of Art and Design. This is one of the oldest post-secondary institution in British Columbia. We are almost 93 years old, and it is only BC University solely dedicated to arts, media, and design education. In 2017, we moved to new campus at Great Northern Way, which is a really beautiful campus over there. And unlike other countries, Canada does not have many schools with a bachelor's degree in animation. So Emily Carr is currently only one BC school to offer bachelor's degree in CG animation. So Emily Carr previously has one animation major that covers all type of animation. After I joined Emily Carr, I started building a new CG animation focused animation major. And last year, our school greenlit the creation of a 3D computer animation major. It was rough road, but it happened. And our 3D computer animation curriculum is designed to foster the understanding and expertise of CG animation and to have our students become a critical and creative thinker. Students who choose to attend Emily Carr often value the comprehensive education of a bachelor's program. So this diagram shows Emily Carr's approach to CG animation education. Beyond providing CG animation knowledge and skill set training, we encourage students to experiment, solve creative problems, and collaborate, which is crucial skills in CG environment. Importantly, we encourage students to become creators of their own art. So how do we do that? We make animated film, not a demo reel. Our students must make short film in their third and fourth years. So basically, they choose their major in their second year and begin focus on major specific classes. And then upper year, students make their third year film and fourth year film as a graduation film. As a veteran of VFX and game industry, I know that we learn more and faster when we're working on real production. Therefore, I want my students to have project-based learning opportunity as much as possible. That way, students can use their knowledge from other animation classes and connect the dots. Students also get to learn while working in realistic environment with professional expectation, which is really hard in art school. And the students work on projects involving animation, AR and VR, or video game with international and domestic partner and clients. This fall, we'll work with Vancouver Police Department on bicycle registration projects. So to give you a taste of our work, this is Augmented. This was an international project with Hongik University in South Korea. Students from our school and then Hongik University collaborate to build augmented reality application. This is an example of how students dealt with real-life challenge, such as managing new software program, Unity and Vuforia. Currently, we don't have that in our curriculum. Time difference between Vancouver and Seoul, and language barrier between the school. In the end, two South Korean students visit Vancouver, and we have a small exhibition and lots of party. This is Lulu Land, a project with local company Petit Lulu that makes handmade stuffed toys and nursery decor. Students create 4 video games, which include VR game and digital storybook. The hardest part was finding a programmer, since we don't have a computer science department, not like your school. So also many of our local programmer doesn't want to do it because we need to finish this project in 3 months, and no one want to do it. But in the end, our students did all the programming themselves with lots of trial and error. Art-to-student programming is not an easy thing, right? So this was best way for our students to learn from their failures and success, and for themselves solve the problem. This is Dino Island. Dino Island was an applied research project with the Kids Brain Health, part of a network of Center of Excellence of Canada. I was a co-investigator and then creator of a video game that will be used to help children with neurodevelopment disorder. Here, students work as a research assistant and production artist. Expanding Universe was my personal exhibition project at Daejeon Museum of Art. Students work as a production artist on this project, and we visit the city of Daejeon in South Korea as a part of my team. Lots of karaoke night in Korea with my student. Next, I'd like to talk about America's position as a public school. As we know, Vancouver is rising as a powerhouse in the CG industry, and there's growing demand for CG animation education. The price tag for such education is pricey. However, as a public university, America is in unique position to provide an education in CG animation that is both well-rounded in quality and relatively affordable, which is really important. Many of our students have how much of that when they graduated. There's a variety of CG education program in BC, which allow potential students to choose a school for their specific needs. For the students who wanted to start their career sooner, there are many private schools that offer short and intensive professional training programs. In our case, America offered 4 years bachelor's degree, and bachelor's degree from our school provide more than just professional training, but also comprehensive education in 3D computer animation. I get lots of questions from potential students, do we really need degree in CG industry? What I wanted to tell them is, bachelor degree is often minimum requirement to obtain work permit in other countries, right? That tells a lot of things. And the other way, if you're an international student, if you study at America, Canadian government will give you at least 3 years work permit after graduation, which is a good time to looking for your job. Unlike private schools that rely on tuition for their operation, America is funded by this tax money. We are therefore, in my opinion, in position to give back to society by collaborating with the CG industry and community with the public good in mind. This can mean working with an organization with a low budget to create public service tool, like the case with the Vancouver Police Department, or helping a small local business with the marketing, like project with Pete Lulu. As we are publicly funded, we are not under the pressure to follow other schools, which is good. We are free to create our own approach to CG animation education and not to be too worried about market pressure. We still do have a pressure though from government, I guess. As a CG industry veteran and educator, I know that there are things we can do to improve our student learning experience. CG industry and technology change rapidly, so keep up with the current CG industry standard in demand, technology, and expectation is so important for our student future. And we're a little lacking in that side, so we need to work. Another thing, I'm in academia in 5 years right now, and then this part is still, I don't understand why, but we need to act quickly and efficiently to eliminate institutional pitfall in the review and decision-making process. One of my biggest concerns is that those decision makers doesn't have any expertise in CG or experience in CG or CG industry, so I don't know how they can make proper decision. Embracing computer graphics and emerging technology in order to unleash our creativity. There are many things we can do in CG as a form of fine art. So I hope we can adopt this side too, and invite more educators from CG industry so that we can gain up-to-date knowledge and develop a relationship for our students entering the force. I was a lead artist at Digital Domain Vancouver, and with that connection, many of my students actually working in digital domain, so as ILM Vancouver. So having those teachers from the industry, I think it will help both sides. Having seen the world of CG industry and academia, what do I think the CG industry can offer to students in CG and society? Work more closely with education sector as a school more than just place or boot camp. You guys should try to recruit. School need more teachers from the industry, for sure. We have a candidate willing to teach at Emily Carr, but in the end, the studio says no for it because I guess it's too busy. But I think teaching is the best way you can actually back to the society and then give something for the student. 3 hours per week. I mean, you need to prep some time in the weekend. It's not that much. You learn a lot while you're teaching, and then the rewarding is really good. That's what I'm teaching right now. Give back to community, as we need more public engagement, like talk, workshop, collaboration project, co-op opportunity. Vancouver, I worked in many different cities in LA, San Francisco, and Seattle. Vancouver's size is not that big, but think about how many studios we have in here right now. But for the student, there's not much opportunity work as a co-op or internship. So it looks like you guys came here, make the money, but doesn't want to give it back to society. So we need to work on this. So I would like to conclude by saying that the education sector and CG industry should work together and build a sustainable relationship so that we can develop strong CG community. Together we can aspire for the next generation of CG artists to have an in-depth knowledge and strong skill set in CG, and for that generation to lead our CG community in the right direction. When I worked at ILM in 2003 and now 2018, the working environment has been changed a lot. So I should say it become more like sweatshop in CG industry. So I believe we need to really work together in academia or education sector with the CG industry and government. How can we really rebuild this community as a strong and somewhat sustainable? At least that is my vision for the future of this exciting community. I believe in education. Many of my friends in industry thinking, why when I'm teaching over there? But again, this is a foundation of our CG community, and we should really take this matter seriously. If we don't have this new, well-educated junior artist, future of our community will be in jeopardy. Thank you all for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of SIGGRAPH. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll keep Unam up here. We have about 15 minutes left. If we'd like to open up the floor to questions, you can direct them at Ali, Sergey, or Unam, if there are any.
self-learning and self-education, things like skill sharing, things like that. How do you see that working into the CG industry, or do you see it as supplementing, as unnecessary? Like, what are your thoughts about that in general, I guess?
I can answer a little bit. For e-learning, I guess you see the trend is if you have some basics that you can always look up, like linear algebra. For CG, you need a lot of linear algebra. Yeah, by all means, go ahead and do it, learn it online. But in some cases, when you need access to specialized equipment, you need to work with other people. And that cannot be replaced by online learning. Simple as that. You need to come to a lab, to a school, to have your mock-up system, to have your VR headsets you'll not necessarily be able to afford. So the routine, the boring stuff could be pushed online. But the fun stuff, you need people to work with. That's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Yeah, same here. Because think about it, production experience and work together is a big thing in CG industry, right? And then also meet up with the people, your classmate. I still keep in touch with my classmate at Cat Arts right now, even how many years ago, right? So that kind of bonding doesn't really came up from online school. However, I think it is good access for someone who cannot really attend the school. So I think it's necessary. However, that two experience cannot be like compared like as the same, right? But it's both very important, in my opinion.
You have any other questions?
I have a question about the relationship between education, research, and tool development and pushing innovation. And do you have any insight into how we can do this better through collaboration?
I guess you'd be better.
All right, maybe I'll give it a shot. So, in terms of tool development, that's why some companies have internships. If in our case, I don't know if Emily Carr has this, the industrial master's and PhD program as well as co-op programs for students. So when companies hire to do these tools. Now, some companies now giving back, they contribute. So even the big players, they have GitHub accounts where they put all the open source projects out there for people, for the community to use. So in having a student intern to work on that, that's win-win. If researchers initiate the tool, that's the same process. Now it's a trend to, when you publish, say, yes, I did use a data set, I use that tool, so can you show us your tool? Can you show us your data set? So it's becoming trendy to publish. It's proper because people can validate the results. So you release the tools. That's for the community. So through the education, now in my lab as well, what we're working on is to have effectively open source our projects as well as the data. So we have some interesting tool and we give it to a community and let them use that. And I hope the industry continue following this altruistic way. That's why they just founded the Academy Software Foundation. This morning was a talk. I missed it because I was in another forum, but it was announced during the keynote where they use Linux. A Linux Foundation and the Academy joined forces together to put a comprehensive list of tool sets for the creative CG industry for everybody. Like it's open source, free of charge. So I think that's a very good positive trend for innovation. For
And has this been something that's changed versus looking at the innovation as being proprietary to get a particular look or gain on production costs?
well,
There's a lot of talks in terms of machine learning and AI and visual effects. So,
well,
curious if
I think this is, again, it's based on what you release and what you own as your intellectual or creative property. A lot of it is a creative process. So like you paint or, you do some woodwork or stonework. So the artwork belongs to you as a creator. That's one thing. And, you sell a hammer or a nail or something to work with the tools. That's public, anyone can acquire it. So I think that's like game assets. They release assets for free, like Adobe released a few, Unity released a few standard assets. The rest you have to buy for your work or you creatively develop, and that's up to the creators to market their own work, like you market music or film or games. I hope I got the meaning.
Yeah, it is. I think there's always room for more questions.
I don't know if you guys have something to add to it.
No, believe that good information.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? Wonderful. So please join me in thanking these two speakers for coming today.
And you should hire Ali
I should, I guess.
to teach
It
animation.
was great meeting you as well.
Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Oh, yes.
Thanks for answering my question. I actually with my tax. I don't know if you.
Yes.
Yes.
We do apply for my tax summer internship.
The industrial master's and PhD program would be a really good fit.
Our research is we had work.
Okay.